Welcome to Malaga and continuing YouTube coverage of the second Global Photonics Economic Forum. On October 7th and 8th, 2025, Optica gathered the world's most influential executives together. Here's the complete version of one of the 8 keynotes. Enjoy. Our next keynote speaker today is Jennifer Cable.
I'm Jen Cable. I'm the president of Thorlabs, and I've been in this role since 2020.
Founded in 1989, the company has headquarters in Newton, New Jersey, with 12 offices in the US and 11 internationally. Jennifer is an established second-generation family business leader. She guides Thorlabs to strengthen its role as a global leader in photonics, delivering over 22,000 products that power research, industry, and innovation. Thorlabs is known worldwide for its broad offering of components, imaging systems, lasers, and emerging quantum technologies. Under Jennifer's leadership, the company has expanded from a catalog provider to a turnkey solutions partner. Today, Jennifer will share her perspective on Thorlabs' strategy, how to support customers across different regions of the world, strengthen supply chain resilience, and maintain innovation, even in challenging global conditions. Please welcome Thorlabs President, Jennifer Cable.
So this time I am really here. So thank you all, and just want to say thank you to the team for very quickly stepping in. The theme of my talk today is really around dealing with external challenges and turning those into opportunities. So want to thank the team for turning the challenge of my late arrival into an opportunity for the last panel. So thank you for that. So like many of our presenters, I did not see that video. And the great thing is it really positions the talk that I'm about to give within the context of who Thorlabs is, who we have been, what we've been known for historically, and where we're going. I want to take a step back, though, and I want to share our story. So it's always really fun for me to share this story because it's a personal one. It's my family's story. So my father, Alex, was, like many of leaders in the photonics industry, was an alumni of Bell Labs in Holmdel, New Jersey. So he almost fortuitously ended up in the lab of Dr. Stephen Chu, where he was a super lab technician, helping Dr. Chu fabricate the setup that he needed to do the atom trap experiments that he went on to win the Nobel Prize for. So as that super lab technician, Alex really recognized there was a gap in the market. There was a gap in the market when it came to serving the needs of folks working in a laser lab who really weren't looking to buy components at scale, but were looking for components that they needed fast. They needed the specifications. They wanted to know the pricing up front, and really thinking about what are the needs of that researcher. So when that researcher is in the lab, you know, the price is important, absolutely. They don't want to feel like they've been taken advantage of, but truly speed and an understanding of kind of the customer experience at the heart of that need for speed, the need to complete their research, right? So when you recognize, hey, I bought the wrong optic, or I don't have all of the optical mounts that I need, or all of the rails that I need to complete this setup, that's really the last thing that should hold you back from completing your research. So that's really the initial germ of the idea that became Thorlabs. So Alex actually custom built 2 microscopes and sold them for a small profit. He took that money and he reinvested it in Thorlabs and bought 2 Bridgeport milling machines. So Alex actually had a really unique background. He had training in physics. He had that experience at Bell Labs, but he was also a trained metal machinist. So he was able to take his experience as a draftsman and as someone who knew how to mill metal and really apply that to building a vertically integrated catalog from the beginning. So that investment, I think that's sometimes underappreciated, the investment that we've made in our manufacturing capabilities really goes back to those earliest days. So the idea was always that we would manufacture the products. Through manufacturing, we would be able to control the costs, we would be able to control the quality. And that manufacturing, that marriage of manufacturing and engineering has really been core to our story from the very beginning. So we were founded in 1989. I became president in 2020. For those of you that saw my panel yesterday, I had about a 10-year journey from undergraduate to finally rejoining the family business. But I'd had the privilege of really growing up alongside the company. I was just a small toddler when the company was founded. And throughout my whole childhood, it really was our second home. So many of you are founders, you know the struggle of being a founder. So for us to spend time with our dad, we spent time with him at work. So I had the experience of learning how to assemble optical mounts firsthand. I had the experience of taking customer calls. As a teenager, I had to do accounts receivables calls. So can you imagine being an awkward teenager and calling up on collections calls? Certainly a little bit of a trial by fire, but that experience really positioned me to understand something that was so core to Thorlabs' vision. And that was the idea that every single customer, no matter how small their order or how large their order, was critical to our success. So in those early days, we were mostly taking orders from fax and by telephone. So when that telephone rang, we dove to pick it up by the second ring. And that kind of idea of customer centricity, that commitment to our customer service, that continues today. So I'm very proud of the success that we've had over the past 36 years. So we've grown from literally being in a spare bedroom at my parents' house and those 2 Bridgeport milling machines in my grandparents' garage to a global footprint. So we're now in 9 countries worldwide. We have 22 different sites, and we have over 1 million square feet of manufacturing space. So I think that's a testament to the ongoing investments that we've made in manufacturing and keeping that close marriage between engineering and manufacturing alive and well. Another piece that I'm very proud of is we continue to be family owned and operated. So I'm a 2nd-generation leader. Alex made the very intentional choice of recruiting me, and he did have to push and he did have to recruit me to come back into the family business. And I'm so glad that he did, because it's been a remarkable opportunity and privilege. And we've reinvested in the company. So our growth has really been fueled by the profits that we generate through our operations. We've never taken on outside capital. And we've really seen that kind of virtuous cycle of investing in our growth, investing in our capabilities, expanding our manufacturing capabilities and our product portfolio as a way to generate additional profit that's then reinvested in the growth. That's a cycle that has proven extremely successful for us as a company. I think you'll see some parallels with Edmund's approach here with our overall customer approach and our value proposition to the customer. We are a one-stop shop. So those 22,000 products, I'm very proud of the fact that about 90% of those are designed and manufactured in-house at Thorlabs. And the other piece I'm really proud of is 20% of them are actually inspired by our customers. So we still have our Hungry for Your Thoughts email box where customers can contact us directly. We take suggestions through our technical support teams. And we've really been able to take the customer voice and have it reflected within the catalog. So by having a quick time to market, we've been able to really answer the calls from our customer with a request for new products, not just for custom solutions for our larger customers, but even for solutions that are customized for our one-off smaller customers that are doing academic research. We're vertically integrated through that investment in manufacturing, and we're really inspired by our customers day to day with an ongoing commitment to that speed and order fulfillment. And really that idea of that investment in our customers, in that commitment to making sure that they're successful, that's something we've carried through with our vision today. So our vision today is really centered around the idea of partnership with our customers. So that partnership starts by really understanding our role in the relationship. It's our role to enable their success. So at the end of the day, occasionally Thorlabs will be mentioned in a publication, which is wonderful and lovely. But we know that's not the reason we're doing this. We're doing this so that our customers can publish, so that our customers can be successful, so that they can win awards and prizes and grants. And on the industrial side, we're doing this so that our customers can bring their products successfully to market. that they can commercialize kind of core photonics research into new and innovative solutions that are seen in a wide range of application areas. So that's really the first tenet of our partnership approach. The next tenet is something that you would also see reflected in those early days of Thorlabs, but we've continued through all of the strategic decisions we've made as a company. And that's the idea of raising the bar. So continually asking ourselves, what more can we do to be that trusted partner to our customer? What more information can we provide to them? How much more transparent can we be about our pricing and the value we're bringing, our manufacturing processes, the specs that our products will meet? Really making sure that on the electronics side and the imaging system side that we're providing customers with access to the software platforms we developed, that we're truly partnering with them and giving them all the tools they need to be successful in utilizing our products in their end applications. The third piece is something that I really emphasize with our team internally. I spoke a little bit yesterday about the work that we're doing in outreach, photonics outreach and STEM outreach activities. Really, we want our employees especially, but also other folks within the photonics industry, to see that we can all impact the world positively through the technologies that we're involved in. And this is a piece that I've seen with my team, especially folks that don't have a technical background. This is where they get really excited. So I have someone on my HR team who shared with me that she had had brain cancer. And when she was coming back to work, struggling to regain some of the skills that she'd lost, the thing that really motivated her was that we were involved in imaging technologies that could help other people like her, other people experiencing cancer, other people dealing with devastating medical conditions. And that's really something that I find profoundly moving, that someone outside of a technical field could make that connection. No one ever spelled it out for her, but she knew that we were working to develop new and novel imaging solutions, and she knew that some of those were involved in brain imaging activities that could have a positive impact on patients like her. So all of the work that we're doing around photonics education, STEM education and outreach, and really educating all of our employees about the mission of Thorlabs, the impact Thorlabs is having by enabling our customers, it's really about that idea of seeing the positive impact that we can have. And then the fourth element of our partnership approach is really just our openness to new ways of working, new ways of partnering, whether developing strategic partnerships, developing deeper relationships with our vendors, thinking about ways that we can innovate on our business model and innovate on kind of the core catalog by offering more and more solutions and applications that are tailored to the needs of specific customers. So over the past 36 years, our portfolio has grown to 22,000 products and our global footprint has grown. I'm not even showing all of the sites on here. I wanted to highlight some of the more interesting ones. If you can, make out in this eye chart, what we have is we have 4 distribution centers worldwide. So we have our North American distribution center headquartered in Newton, New Jersey, where we're based. And then we have 3 global distribution centers in Europe, based in Munich, one in Shanghai, and one in Tokyo. So really the goal has always been that we have those distribution centers as stocked as possible with those 22,000 products, with the idea that those products are ready to ship with the orders being placed and processed same day, and those orders shipping same day. And then when you look at all of the sites where we have a wide diversity of manufacturing approaches, really the idea has been to co-locate our engineering teams with our manufacturing groups. So we wanted to make sure that the people designing our products could get down on the floor, could go and see, using that kind of classic lean adage, could go and see and really understand the impact that their designs would have on the folks that were responsible for manufacturing them. So that tight connection between manufacturing and engineering is reflected in our overall organizational structure and our overall design as a company. So I just want to highlight a few areas where I think that, some folks have been kind of surprised to see the breadth of our product evolve into over the past few years. So kind of the core that Thorlabs is known for, optics and optomechanics, that's largely manufactured in Newton, New Jersey. So for 60 to 70% of our products, we're a US-based manufacturer. So I'll chat a little bit about some of the challenges we've had to face over the past year. You would think we would be well positioned to deal with some of the challenges, and we are in some ways, but we also had to think about this business model and think about some of the practices we'd put in place to support this business model. But then we go from those core components to the more kind of innovative work that we're doing, for example, in our compound semiconductor fab, our 3.5 semiconductor fab in Jessup, Maryland, where we're not just growing the chips, but we're also building quantum cascade lasers. We're building MEMS VCSEL lasers. We're really building high-end semiconductor lasers for a wide variety of applications. And that's really far afield from where we started as a mechanics milling shop that was built to serve the photonics industry. So I think it's really cool not just to think about our growth over the past 36 years, but to think about how diverse our product offering now is, not just in terms of what's in our catalog, but also in terms of what we're directly manufacturing. So just a brief aside on kind of the underlying assumptions for this model. So I mentioned that we co-locate engineering and manufacturing, and I shared some of the rationale behind that. But what that means is we don't replicate manufacturing capabilities, or we haven't historically replicated manufacturing capabilities in multiple sites. So each product is associated with one site. That means that they truly own that design, they truly own that technology area. But it also opened us up to some challenges, as you can imagine, when the global trade war kind of was initiated earlier this year. We've also relied on one system worldwide, one ERP system. So what that gave us is a tremendous amount of agility when it came to actually moving product around to meet the needs of our customers quickly. It wasn't always the most efficient way to organize our business or the most efficient processes to implement, but it did mean that we were able to meet the needs of our customers quickly. So looking at that map on the previous slide, you probably started to anticipate some of the challenges that we've had in 2025. I want to walk you through some of them. I know that many of you have dealt with similar challenges, but I hope by sharing Thorlabs' approach, Thorlabs' story, and how we've been able to turn those challenges into opportunities, you'll walk away with some insights that might be applicable to your own businesses. So the first actually began well before 2025. So as many of you know, Thorlabs as a kind of research tools, research components company, we continue to sell quite a bit into quantum research, so quantum computing, quantum sensing applications. So even before 2025, we saw many of our customers involved in that research being placed on the denied persons list. So this is an area where, historically, what's described now as quantum was kind of just the bread and butter of what many of our customers were working on when it came to physics, applied physics research. But it turned into a hot button topic when it came to geopolitical concerns. So we saw heightened scrutiny and we saw heightened restrictions on which customers we could sell to. And that did have an impact on our business. So we started to see more and more of those export restrictions. We had to build up a team that was much more professional to deal with those challenges and to really operationalize how we thought about integrating those challenges and those limitations and that guidance so that we could be fully compliant, but really integrating it into our process and not seeing it as an exception every time. So it was a challenge for the team, but it's one that we've integrated over the past few years. Luckily, we did that, and luckily we had to do that because 2025 meant there was increasing export restrictions, increasing challenges when it came to import and export. So when you think about those 4 distribution centers we have worldwide, it's always been our goal that we can quickly move product back and forth, that we can quickly and agilely fully stock those warehouses based on the emerging needs of their local customers. And we realized, wow, that isn't always the most efficient way to do business. But also it meant that there's a tremendous amount of work that our team had to do to support that activity. As many of you know, there was also at the beginning of this year increased pressure on the funding landscape for many of our customers doing research. So NSF funding in the United States, NIH funding for many of our researchers in the life sciences and medical imaging field. So all of that had an impact and, led to not just some delays in purchasing, but also a lot of concerns around what the future would look like. And then we also know that there's been a global retaliatory landscape, right, where the United States initiated some of these new tariffs and new trade guidelines, but other countries reciprocated in kind. So dealing with a lot of changes and recognizing that, hey, the business model that we've had over the past really 25, 30 years no longer totally made sense. We had to make some transformations to that business model. We had to evolve as a company to meet the needs of the new reality we all found ourselves in. So how did we do that? We had a question on the panel yesterday around agility. So how do we build agility into how we operate as companies? And how do we respond to a rapidly changing external landscape that's often very challenging? For us, what we did is we set a guiding principle. And the guiding principle was that we would only make decisions that were in line with our long-term strategic goals. I had a personal goal as well, a personal principle, which was to respond but not react. So if any of you have a meditation practice, you know that that's often one of the goals of learning meditation is moving from reactivity to response so that you see the external environment, you take in the information, you don't let your kind of initial senses take over, but you really take a moment to process that information and come up with a considered response. So that's what we were able to do as a team. So we really tackled this crisis with three main initiatives. So the first was moving manufacturing closer to our customers. So this didn't mean that we ripped out all the manufacturing and outsourced it, that we ripped it out of the existing teams. It meant instead that our teams partnered with their colleagues globally to replicate manufacturing where it made sense to bring that manufacturing closer to customers. And that was actually in line with our long-term goal of moving away from just providing components, just providing instrumentation through the catalog model, and moving towards more of a true partnership approach. So by moving that manufacturing closer to our customers, moving the design engineers that supported that manufacturing closer to our customers, we're now able to more closely partner with our customers when it comes to working with them on solutions. The second was looking at our internal and external supply chains and looking to diversify it. So one way we did that was to emphasize internal sourcing. So we have a breadth and depth of manufacturing expertise within the company. We haven't always been a great internal vendor to ourselves. I think it's a challenge of growing quickly as a company is you don't always grow those capabilities and those processes as quickly as you're growing them for your external customers. So we really shifted our mindset that a customer was a customer, whether they were a Thorlabs customer or whether they were an external customer. And then the third was really looking at some of the inefficiencies in our processes around those 4 global distribution centers. So saying, look, we've always set up processes that meant that we wanted to get the product as quickly as possible to the end user. But we often did that in a way that we didn't really think about the chain of decisions and activities that led to the product being in the wrong warehouse. So we put a lot more emphasis around the analysis that went into stocking the 4 warehouses. We also looked to improve the on-the-ground efficiency of each of the 4 warehouses, most notably at our largest warehouse in Newton, where we've invested significantly in a new automated robotic picking system called an auto store. So we've been able to take our team, and instead of running around and pulling bins and pulling buckets, they've been able to focus much more on the analytics, focus much more on supporting some of the changes that have been needed to support this new model of working. So what are some key takeaways from how we've navigated this storm over the past few years? So the first is we have a continued emphasis on serving the needs of your local customer. So we're in 9 different countries worldwide, and that's very intentional. We've really empowered our local leaders to understand their local markets and make decisions that bring the global Thorlabs brand to the local customer in a way that makes sense and is responsive to the needs of that local customer. And we've combined that with the idea that it's the goal of each of our offices in those 9 countries to serve the needs of the local customer, but also to think about the impact of the decisions that they make on the global Thorlabs. The next is, and this was truly the kind of unexpected benefit of a lot of the work that we've been doing, we've been able to address ongoing operational inefficiencies. So operational inefficiencies that kind of evolved over our organic growth over the past 36 years, we've now been able to take a fresh look at and address. And remarkably, we've actually had increased profitability even during a time of increased costs with the tariffs that are being imposed on our products. So truly, with these new challenges, we've seen new opportunities for the business. We've seen our teams truly step up to the challenge, step up to this new way of working, really prioritizing the needs of the global business, and at the end of the day, prioritizing the needs of our customers and making them successful. So what made this possible? So really, it's this idea of being one Thorlabs. We are a global company. And we never want our teams to think of themselves as a member of Thorlabs China or a member of Thorlabs Japan, or I'm a member of the optics division in Newton. We want our teams to think about themselves as a part of a global community of photonics researchers, a global community of folks developing photonics technologies, and part of a global Thorlabs. So that goes back to our culture. So I have a few pictures here that share some of the cool stuff that we're doing as part of our culture. So the first shows the photonics education course that we've rolled out internally. So we've been able to engage employees at all levels in a 25-hour course that allows them to get hands-on experiences using photonics tools, our tools, Thorlabs products, and understanding some of the basic technologies and some of the basic concepts that underlie the work that we do and the work that our customers do. The next is our leadership team. So what I've seen is throughout the challenge, our leaders have truly stepped up. And they've stepped up to inspire their teams, to be advocates for change, and to be advocates for this mentality of, hey, we are serving a global company, we are serving global customers. Sometimes there will be business decisions that don't positively impact us directly, but we'll be the beneficiaries of the strength of this global business. So it's been very cool to see that agility and that openness to change modeled in our leaders. So I also want to share a picture of Stefan here, Halwag, our head of sales and marketing in Europe. So in the US, as I shared yesterday, we have our mobile photonics lab. And our team in Europe saw that and they said, hey, this is really cool. And they came up with this idea of taking that lab, which is kind of dragged around the United States by a giant dually diesel truck, and saying, all right, well, that's probably not going to fly in Europe. We have much more of an emphasis and are much more involved in terms of our sustainability initiatives. So why don't we take it? Why don't we benefit from the fact that we have this amazing bike network in Europe and develop a bike version of the mobile photonics lab? So that's what Stefan and his team did. This is him taking it on a pilot run through the English Gardens in Munich. And it's really been well received. And the idea behind it, one, it's very fun for our employees. It's fun for them to drive the bike, ride the bike. It's fun for them to interact directly with their customers, but it's also so meaningful to go to schools, go to universities, and encourage young people to consider a career in photonics and in the sciences more broadly. And then the last thing that made this possible is our teams. Really, nothing that we do would ever be possible without the engaged and motivated workforce that we're really privileged to have as part of Thorlabs. So I also wanted to share our team here from China. So they actually recently won an award for one of the projects that they've initiated, which is working with one of the local universities to develop a graduate level photonics course that combines work that happens, lectures that happen at the university, and then a 4-hour biweekly lab at our offices in Shanghai. And this is a piece I find most remarkable. The college students actually travel an hour and a half every other week to spend that 4-hour lab in our offices. So when you think about the amount of dedication and the commitment to advancing their education, I think that's truly remarkable. So I just wanted to share these stories with you because I hope it gives you some sense of what our culture is like at Thorlabs, what our vision for the future looks like, and truly how we're taking the challenges of 2025, turning them into opportunities, and using those opportunities to inspire our team. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Wonderful presentation. Thank you so much. How can we help you? How can the community in front of you help you be even greater than you already are?
It's a great question. So I think some of you are customers. So I think the first is if you are a customer, please keep buying from us. But really, what I would love is feedback from you. So I think that's even more valuable for me, is to hear directly from you what's working, more importantly, what's not working. I shared with you some of our commitments to our customers in terms of fast delivery, in terms of partnership. If you come up to me and you say, hey, Jen, I spoke with your team and they did not approach that conversation as a partnership. It felt like they wanted to get me off the phone as fast as possible. I want to know that, right? Because we want to do better. If you placed an order with us and it took you, weeks to get a shipping confirmation date because it was out of stock, I want to know that. I want to do better. So please feel free to come up to me and share that feedback. We also have vendors in the audience. So that continued partnership, I think, also extends to many of you. And I would also say the video highlighted a little bit of the work that we're doing, and there will be more to come in the next year or so around the custom solutions work that we're embarking on. So I think for many of you, if you are looking for a partner, especially when it comes to the types of components that we manufacture in-house and the higher level kind of integration and assembly work that we can do, we'd be happy to have those conversations as well.
David Hagan, Dean of Creole.
Hi.
Hi, Jennifer. Thank you.
My pleasure.
Yeah, I'm from Creole, so I'm interested in education, of course.
Absolutely.
And so it was good to hear the story, because I was around in 1989 when that happened. And you said that Alex Cable saw the gap. Probably a lot of us saw the gap, or it was right in front of our faces, but we didn't realize it. In Scotland, at the university I was at, when we had money, we would buy from Newport, but it was kind of expensive. And when we didn't, we'd go to our machine shop and get them to make optics or optical mounts and so on. And same thing when I came to the United States and Texas, same thing when I went to Florida. And then suddenly I went to Clio in 1989, 1990.
Yep.
And suddenly, wow. So these inexpensive mounts are really was good for the business, because we could now buy things that were really high quality that we couldn't afford before. So a lot of us we saw the gap, but what I think Alex saw was the opportunity to make money out of this and make the community better. So I guess my question is, Thorlabs hasn't stood still. You don't just make mounts anymore. You've really innovated throughout the lifetime of the company. And presumably your employees have done that. But how do we do better as universities to teach people how to innovate and become entrepreneurs?
That's a great question. And I've had the pleasure of actually at the Optica, I think the Optica Innovation School, talking with some early career entrepreneurs coming out of universities. And one of the things I emphasize when I share the early story is the idea is just the first part. Right. So I think a lot of people could have recognized there was a gap in the market in 1989. But I think what Alex had is he had the right background. So he actually knew how to machine metal. He knew that he could reliably produce those parts at a lower price, that he could still retain a healthy margin. So he really understood the cost structure behind metal machining, and he understood the application area. So I think having the customer perspective, the operations and manufacturing perspective, and the background in design engineering, he was able to bring that all in. But like I said, the idea is just the first part. So I think, if you saw the early days of Thorlabs, it looks very different from what you saw in the video. We were in those early days in the early 1990s in an old shoe factory. The roof leaked. It leaked tar onto our desks. And I say our desks because I did have a desk at that point. It was not a glamorous place to work. It was not, clean, tech startup. So I think part of it too is just accepting you're going to have to be scrappy for probably much longer than a lot of people anticipate. I think especially younger folks today who have seen some of the tech startup stories and really grown up with them, is there's a long period of really running a lean business so that you can continue to reinvest. So I do think it's the decisions that were made after that first spark of an idea that helped Thorlabs be successful. And as you pointed out, David, the idea that, you can't just end with the first idea. So we kept adding to the catalog, we kept innovating, we kept adding new manufacturing capabilities, and we continue doing that today.
Jen, we have 3 quick questions for
Sure.
you. We're going to do a speed round.
All right,
Please tell us your name and company.
So Reinhard, so thanks for coming here. Thanks for the great speech.
pleasure.
So I was at university for 10 years and affordability was always the point. So you had the catalogs and you had to buy lenses. So how do you balance affordability with precision for all the catalog thing if your cost model from manufacturing is running away?
So how do you balance the cost model and the need to provide value with kind of the current situation? So, I mean, that's a very long answer, probably. That's really what I think about every day. One thing that we do is we maintain the variety of products in the catalog, from the kind of basic optics that you need all the way up through very high precision, larger format, kind of the more esoteric coatings, et cetera, et cetera. So it's really that variety. And then I would say also putting an emphasis on manufacturing excellence to keep that cost structure low.
So limiting customization and focusing on making very good catalog products.
Yeah, but I would say we've added to that the capabilities to provide custom optics with our acquisition of JML Optical in Rochester, New York. So we've kind of created a structure for that.
Very good. Please remind us your name and company.
Yeah, hello. My name is Peter Kramer. I'm with Iberia Instruments in Germany. I used to be CEO of Optica for the last 8 years and doing catalog business on components as well. I really admire your brave move in multiplying your supply chain and manufacturing outside of your home turf. What is your key learning when you multiply your business model in such a strong way while maintaining the same quality of the same products for all the users that are traveling worldwide and have the same expectations without, jeopardizing the brand, but still relying on an always new network of suppliers, manufacturers, production sites, etc.
Yeah, so I think of it in a couple of different ways. So the first is you do need to take your time. So I've shared a little sneak peek of some of the things we've been working on. This is by no means saying that we've taken, the probably hundreds of thousands of square feet in Newton that we have for manufacturing and replicated that in Shanghai and replicated that in Tokyo. We haven't done that. We might look like that in 15 years or 10 years. We might not. But really what we've done is we've selected specific product lines that we know we need to move closer to the customer. So we've been very judicious about that. We've been very judicious about shifting where the final assembly happens and where we're sourcing components, whether internal or external. So we try not to, it's almost like a controlled experiment, right? We only try to introduce one variable at a time to make sure that we're doing it in a very controlled way and that we can maintain that quality. We also have a very active quality team that's really very relentless. And I come back to this idea of being relentless. We're relentless. So if we see that something isn't working, we'll stop. Even if it means incurring higher costs, it's worth it so that there's not a negative impact to the customer. So really it's being very judicious, very measured in these decisions that we're making, being relentless in the quality standards that we set, and then going back to the culture, really being present. So for me, it means traveling and visiting our sites and talking with our teams, having those personal relationships so that, anyone at any level of the company can come up to me and feel comfortable saying, hey, this isn't working, or we're having challenges here. So that culture, it's a nice culture to work in. I really believe that. But there's also a strategic purpose. And that purpose is that everyone within the company is motivated to raise their hand and say, hey, Jen, I've got some questions. I've got some concerns. I think you should come and take a look at this.
And to close the session, Jenny Roland, University of Rochester.
Hi, Jennifer. I'm Jennifer Roland, University of Rochester. Can you tell us a little bit more if you see gaps in the educational kind of model and whether you can envision maybe new ways that industry and academia can work together to better train the next generation workforce, all the way from undergraduate to PhD levels? Maybe the needs are different from how these people are going to serve in your company.
Yeah.
Jennifer, please give her a teaser of the answer and
I will
the
give you
whole
a
discussion over the
very fast answer, Janique. So I would say it comes down to one idea, and that idea is taking theory and putting it into practice. And I think that all levels, we can do a better job when it comes to our educational system at training our new graduates to do that. So thank you all. This has been wonderful, and I look forward to continuing the conversation. Thank you, Jose. Thank you for the privilege.
Thanks for watching this keynote. If you found it useful, please comment below, repost, subscribe to this channel, and save the date for next year, when we return to Malaga at the same time as Econ.